Alright, let's cut the bullshit. You've probably heard the Crusades were these heroic quests where noble knights charged off to reclaim the Holy Land for God, right? Wrong. It was a chaotic clusterfuck of greed, betrayal, and straight-up mass murder that dragged on for centuries, and guess what? A lot of what you think you know is flat-out myth. I'm diving into the real story of the Crusades, peeling back the layers of religious hype to expose the power plays, the atrocities, and why this medieval madness still echoes in our world today. Buckle up, because by the end, you might question everything you learned in history class. So what the hell were the Crusades anyway? Picture this. It's the late 11th century. Europe is a mess of feudal lords squabbling over scraps of land, and the Byzantine Empire is getting hammered by the Seljuk Turks. Pope Urban II sees an opportunity at the Council of Clermont in 1095. He rallies the crowds with a fiery speech about liberating Jerusalem from Muslim control, promising forgiveness of sins and eternal glory. But here's the kicker. It wasn't just about piety. Sure, pilgrimage routes were blocked and Christians wanted safe access to holy sites. But Urban was also eyeing political clout, uniting fractious Europeans under the church's banner, and diverting knights from warring at home to fighting abroad. Economic perks, hell. Yeah, land grabs, trade routes, and loot for the taking. Motivations weren't pure. They were a mix of faith, fortune, and flat-out ambition. Let's break it down crusade by crusade, starting with the first one because that's where the legend begins, and the blood really starts flowing. In 1096, the so-called People's Crusade kicks off, led by this charismatic preacher Peter the Hermit. It's a ragtag mob of peasants and minor nobles hyped on religious fervor, but they don't even make it to the Holy Land properly. Along the way, they unleash pogroms against Jewish communities in the Rhineland. We're talking thousands slaughtered in places like Mainz and Worms, all because some idiots equated infidels with anyone not Christian. Why? Partly anti-Semitism fueled by crusade preaching, partly to seize Jewish wealth to fund the trip. Brutal, right? The main force, the Prince's Crusade, fares better. Godfrey of Bouillon, Bohemond of Taranto, and Raymond of Toulouse lead armies that capture Nicaea in 1097, Antioch after a grueling siege in 1098, and finally Jerusalem in 1099. But the fall of Jerusalem, that's no chivalrous victory. The Crusaders massacre pretty much everyone. Muslims, Jews, even some Eastern Christians. Streets running with blood, bodies piled high. Estimates say 10,000 to 40,000 dead. Was it religious zeal? Sure, but also revenge for the siege hardships and a grab for the city's riches. Outcome. They set up crusader states like the Kingdom of Jerusalem, but it's fragile from day one. Fast forward to the Second Crusade in 1147, triggered by the Muslims retaking Edessa in 1144 under Zengi. Kings Louis VII of France and Conrad III of Germany get involved, preached into action by Bernard of Clairvaux. This one's a multi-front disaster. There's action in the Holy Land, but also the Wendish crusade against pagans in the Baltic and sieges in Iberia like Lisbon. In the Levant, they botched the siege of Damascus in 1148, blaming each other for the screw-ups. Atrocities. More anti-Jewish violence in Europe sparked by the hype and failed assaults leading to needless deaths. Why did it flop? Poor coordination, rivalries between leaders, Louis and Conrad couldn't stand each other, and underestimating Muslim unity. Beyond religion, this was about expanding Christian frontiers in Europe too, with economic wins in Portugal, where they helped conquer Lisbon from the Moors. Takeaway. Crusading wasn't just about Jerusalem, it was a template for holy wars everywhere. Now the Third Crusade in 1189. This is the one with the big names, the stuff of movies. Saladin, the Kurdish Sultan, crushes the Crusaders at the Battle of Hattin in 1187, captures Jerusalem, and executes guys like Reynold of Chatillon for his raids. Europe freaks out. Richard the Lionheart of England, Philip II of France, and Emperor Frederick Barbarossa, who drowns on the way, mount a response. They siege Acre for 2 years, finally taking it in 1191. But then Richard orders the execution of 2,700 Muslim prisoners, a war crime by any standard, supposedly because Saladin delayed ransom payments. Battles like Arsuf show Richard's tactical genius, but Philip bails early due to beef with Richard. Ends with the Treaty of Jaffa in 1192. Christians get coastal strips, pilgrimage rights, but no Jerusalem. Motivations? Glory for Richard, sure, but also securing trade routes. England's wool trade needed Mediterranean access. Atrocities aside, Saladin's chivalry contrasts with the Crusaders' brutality, flipping the barbarian narrative. Long-term, it stabilizes things temporarily but sets up endless grudges. The Fourth Crusade in 1202? This is where it goes completely off the rails. From holy war to straight-up betrayal, Pope Innocent III calls it. But the Venetians, under Doge Enrico Dandolo, hijacked the plan. The Crusaders can't pay for ships, so they sack the Christian city of Zara as payment, then get diverted to Constantinople by a Byzantine prince promising cash. In 1204, they storm the city, loot it blind. We're talking rape, murder, desecration of churches, stealing relics like the Shroud of Turin. Thousands die. The Byzantine Empire fractures into Latin puppet states. Leaders like Boniface of Montferrat grab thrones. Religion, barely a factor. This was Venetian trade rivalry crushing Byzantine competition. Political opportunism, pure and simple. Impact weakens the East against future Ottoman advances, deepens the Catholic Orthodox schism. Misconception busted. Crusades weren't always against Muslims. Christians killed Christians for profit. By the Fifth Crusade in 1217, they're thinking strategically. Hit Egypt to cut off Muslim supply lines. Led by John of Brienne and Cardinal Pelagius, they captured Damietta in 1219 after a horrific siege where bodies rotted in the Nile. But pushing to Cairo? Disaster. Nile floods trapped them, leading to retreat and surrender in 1221. Atrocities, mass killings during sieges, starvation tactics. Motivations, control Nile trade. But papal indulgences, forgiveness for cash, show the church's fundraising machine. Fails due to arrogance and bad timing. The sixth in 1228 is weird. No big battles. Excommunicated Emperor Frederick II negotiates with Sultan al-Kamil, getting Jerusalem back peacefully in 1229. Smart diplomacy, but the church hates him for it. Short-lived, though. Jerusalem falls again in 1244. Seventh Crusade, 1248. Louis IX of France tries Egypt again, takes Damietta easy, but gets crushed at Mansoura in 1250. Captured, ransomed for a fortune. He sticks around to fortify Acre, but it's a net loss. Atrocities. Baybar's Mamluks later execute prisoners ruthlessly. Louis's piety is real, but funding came from taxing Jews and seizing lands. Eighth Crusade, 1270. Louis tries Tunisia this time, thinking it'd convert the emir. Dies of disease, crusade fizzles. Ninth in 1271-72. Prince Edward, future Edward I, raids but achieves little. Acre falls in 1291, ending Crusader presence. So wrapping this up, were the Crusades holy wars? Partly, but let's be real. They were fueled by greed, power struggles, and economic grabs as much as faith. Atrocities endless. From Jerusalem's bloodbath to Constantinople's sack, not to mention Jewish pogroms that foreshadowed worse to come. Misconceptions run deep. They weren't unprovoked aggression. Muslims had conquered Christian lands centuries before. Not about forced conversions either. More pilgrimage security and barbarism. Both sides committed horrors. But Crusaders often get painted as the villains while ignoring context, like Saladin's own massacres. Long-term, they boosted trade, brought back knowledge from the East, medicine, math, spices, sparking the Renaissance. But they also hardened religious divides, contributing to Islamophobia and anti-Christian sentiment that lingers today. In our world of culture wars and Holy Land conflicts, the Crusades remind us how religion gets weaponized for politics. Think about it. Next time you see a Crusade meme or hear Deus Vult, remember the real cost. Rivers of blood for fleeting gains. History isn't pretty, but ignoring the ugly parts, that's how we repeat it. What do you think? Were they worth it?